Title: The Endless Highway. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the empty highway, Sarah and Mark found themselves on a road trip they would never forget. They had been planning this journey for months, a cross-country adventure to celebrate their anniversary. The excitement that had fueled them for the first few days was now fading, replaced by exhaustion and a growing sense of unease. Miles of asphalt stretched out before them, bordered by thick, foreboding woods on either side. The GPS had long lost signal, leaving them to navigate the desolate road with an old-fashioned paper map. Sarah glanced at Mark, who was gripping the steering wheel with white-knuckled determination. "Mark, are you sure this is the right way?" she asked, her voice tinged with anxiety. He peered at the map, squinting in the dim light from the dashboard. "According to the map, we should be heading in the right direction. Just a few more hours, and we'll reach that cozy cabin in the woods." But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The road seemed to stretch on forever, the trees crowding in closer, their branches clawing at the sides of the car. It was as if the world beyond the car's headlights had ceased to exist. They drove in silence for what felt like hours. Sarah's sense of dread grew with every passing mile, and Mark's determination began to wane. Finally, he broke the silence. "I don't remember this road being so long. It's like it goes on forever." Sarah nodded, her unease mirrored in his words. "And have you noticed? There are no other cars on the road? Not a single one since we turned onto this highway." Mark's gaze flicked to the rearview mirror, confirming her observation. "Maybe it's just a remote stretch of road, and we'll hit a more populated area soon." But soon turned into hours, and the desolation persisted. The trees seemed to press in even closer, their branches now scraping against the car's windows. Sarah felt trapped, claustrophobic, as if the forest itself was closing in on them. "We need to find a place to rest," Mark said, his voice strained. "I can't keep driving like this." Sarah nodded, grateful for the suggestion. Just as she was about to suggest pulling over, they came upon a dilapidated sign by the roadside. It read, "Motel 5 miles ahead." Relief washed over them, and Mark accelerated toward the promised respite. The further they drove, the more the road deteriorated. Potholes and cracks marred the asphalt, making the ride jarring and uncomfortable. Finally, they reached the motel, a rundown building with flickering neon lights that spelled out vacancy. The place looked like it had seen better days, but it was a welcome sight in the midst of the eerie wilderness. As they entered the dimly lit lobby, a bell above the door jingled, announcing their arrival. The motel's owner, a wiry man with sunken eyes and a sallow complexion, emerged from behind the front desk. He smiled, revealing a set of yellowed teeth. "Evening, folks," he rasped. "You're lucky you found this place. Not many travelers come through here these days." Mark and Sarah exchanged uneasy glances, but decided not to dwell on the oddity of the man's comment. They just wanted a room for the night. "We'd like a room, please," Mark said. The man nodded and handed them a tarnished key. "Room 13. It's at the end of the hall. Don't mind the creaks, it's an old place." They made their way down a narrow corridor, their footsteps echoing eerily in the silence. Room 13 was at the far end, just as the man had said. Mark inserted the key, and the door creaked open to reveal a dimly lit, musty room. "Weird place," Sarah murmured as they entered, their bags slung over their shoulders. The room was basic, with faded wallpaper peeling at the edges and a sagging mattress on a rusty bed frame. "We'll only be here for the night," Mark reassured her, setting their bags down. "Let's just get some rest." As they settled in, the room seemed to close in around them. The shadows danced on the walls, and strange, unidentifiable sounds echoed through the motel. Sarah shivered, her unease returning in full force. Mark went to take a shower, leaving Sarah alone in the room. As she sat on the edge of the bed, she noticed a faded photograph on the nightstand. It was a picture of the motel, but it looked much different. newer, vibrant, and bustling with life. The image was dated 1955. Before she could ponder the strange photo any further, Mark emerged from the bathroom, a towel wrapped around his waist. "The water is ice cold," he grumbled. "This place is falling apart." Sarah nodded, still staring at the photograph. "And did you notice the date on this picture? It's from 1955. Mark glanced at the photo, his brow furrowing. "That's strange. Maybe the motel used to be popular, but it's certainly not now." They decided to put their concerns aside and get some sleep, hoping to leave the odd motel behind them in the morning. But sleep proved elusive. Strange noises permeated the night, the creaking of floorboards, faint whispers, and a haunting melody that seemed to seep through the walls. Sarah sat up in bed, her heart pounding. "Did you hear that?" Mark was wide awake now, his eyes darting around the room. "Yeah, I did. What the hell is going on here?" They ventured out into the hallway, where the unsettling sounds grew louder. As they walked, they couldn't help but notice the other doors along the corridor. Each one had a faded, yellowing photograph on the door, just like the one in their room. The photos depicted scenes from the motel's heyday, filled with happy guests. Room after room revealed the same eerie sight until they reached the end of the hall. There, they found a door without a photo. It bore the number 13. With trepidation, they opened the door to room 13 and stepped inside. It was empty, save for an old, dusty mirror on the wall. But the mirror was different from the others. They could see their own reflections in it. Sarah approached the mirror and touched its cold surface. Her reflection seemed to waver for a moment before she realized something horrifying. Her reflection wasn't mimicking her movements. Instead, it was beckoning her, urging her closer. "Mark, look at this," she said, her voice trembling. Mark joined her at the mirror, and they watched in horror as their reflections began to move independently, gesturing toward the mirror's surface. Without warning, Sarah's reflection reached out and grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the mirror. She screamed, but no sound came out. Mark tried to pull her back, but his reflection grabbed him as well. Panic surged through them as they were slowly, inexorably, drawn into the mirror's depths. The world around them dissolved, and they found themselves in a nightmarish reflection of the motel